that we're being required to wake up, to shift, to expand our awareness. These planets are going to form this beautiful triangle in the sky. We're going to be asked to be extremely fluid and also discerning at the same time.
Welcome everyone to a new chapter, a new episode. Gretchen, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you, Iván. I'm very grateful for these conversations to give you a efficient, tight, organized map of navigation through 2025 because there's such enormous astrological changes that are in the sky at this point. There's so much going on that we could be here for hours and hours telling each individual story of Pluto, Uranus, Neptune, Saturn, just those. We could be here for hours. It overwhelms even me, and I've been an astrologer for a very long time. Perhaps just to feel the awe of this and the awe of that we are here now. We're alive, going through. What an honor and a challenge to be alive in 2025.
That's a good mindset before listening this episode. I found many people like quite discouraged, and on the other hand there are people who feel honored to live this moment of life. We invite you, listener, to feel honored, to feel the privilege of living in this moment on the humankind. If you're not feeling on that mindset, I will suggest you to do a meditation, to observe yourself. Instead of watching the end of the world on a dystopic way, we're gonna watch this end of the world, but on a utopic way. We are creating things just with think about it, just with resonance.
Excellent. Curiosity and awe. In short period of time, in basically 18 months from the fall of 2023 to the early spring of 2026, we're seeing the shift of all the collective planets, Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto, shifting into brand new cycles, and some of them enormous cycles. These are the collective planets. They speak of the collective consciousness, and they're all shifting signs. And this concentration of time, before we even go on to Saturn and Jupiter and the nodes of the moon, this concentration of shift that is occurring has not happened for at least 5,000 years. This short period that we're being required to wake up, to shift, to expand our awareness. By 2026, we're going to be in a very, very different world. Generational evolution, it's spiritual evolution, it's the evolution of consciousness. I became overwhelmed by the number of stories, the amount of information that we were being asked to make sense of in order to navigate 2025. What if we look at it not in small detail? Because what this is suggesting is that the expansion of consciousness, the minds that we have right now, are inadequate to receive, to do anything with the information yet. We have to go through the experience. I could give you a few clues. I could say, March to the beginning of November, perhaps we might even say the 1st of November, there is going to be an incredible amount of this shift and activity as Saturn and Neptune step into Aries, as Uranus steps into Gemini, as the nodes of the moon shift. Pluto is already there in Aquarius, doing its deep death and rebirth challenge to consciousness. What must die, says Pluto? What must die of our old thinking in order that we be available? And Pluto never gives up its power without serious battles. So the old thinking is holding on tight. We're all holding on to our old thinking because we need to feel like we have some control over something. We're going to be asked to be extremely fluid and also discerning at the same time. One thing that's very beautiful that I thought, just these planets are going to form this beautiful triangle in the sky. Uranus, Neptune, Pluto, and Saturn, and the nodes of the moon, they're forming this incredible triangle. We will only be able to see Saturn, but that we can see Saturn, the planet of form and structure, the one that gives us a handle on what we actually can do. It's going to be visible.
What does it mean that Uranus go to Gemini? What does it mean that Neptune go into Aries? Every one of these change it separately, so then we can collect together and have the whole picture of what's going on in the sky.
All right, so Uranus moves into Gemini on July the 7th, moving back into Taurus, earthy Taurus, on the 1st of November, and then early in 26, stepping and committing into Gemini. Neptune steps into Aries on the 30th of March, and then steps back out into Pisces, backwards into Pisces on October the 22nd, and then in early February of 26, steps again into Aries and is committed in its journey. It moves forward. Saturn also steps into Aries on May the 24th, but on September the 1st steps back into Pisces, and then early in 26 steps firmly and committedly into Aries along with Neptune, an extraordinary moment in early 2026. Might you note those dates in your calendar and say the 30th of March and the 24th of May and the 7th of July? Think about the Uranus, the planet, the lightning bolt, awakener, the chaos bringer, the planet of inventiveness and rebelliousness. It's been in Taurus for 7 years, in earthy Taurus. It's not particularly at ease there. It's constrained by the sheer physicality of Taurus. When it steps into airy Gemini on the 7th of July, it's going to, like as an image, you might imagine that there's going to be lightning storms hitting your brain. I love metaphor because the visuals kind of help, because there's going to be an immense electricity activating the air. And Gemini rules the mind and the ordinary daily thinking mind. So there's going to be this beginning of incredible awakening. And of course, we're seeing it already in AI, which is going to leap forward, and in the technological advances in all of the systems of communication and information exchange. But just this sense of one of the collective planets shifting, opening up the collective consciousness, a changing world, a tremendous amount of information we're going to be thrown at us in this period of time between July 7th and the 1st of November, and gives us an opportunity perhaps to ground ourselves, to consider, to maybe review and revise our relationship with Taurus, with the earth, with our resources, knowing that our resources are going to be challenged, or as they have been. There's going to be a tremendous amount of shift happening in the world economies, in the currencies, to adjust to a new model of communication. And we say, all right, well, what about Neptune stepping into Aries? For the last 14 years, Neptune has been in Pisces, a sign that it really loves, it's very much at home with. And what we've seen is a collective expansion of meditation, like yoga, Tai Chi, Qigong, millions of astrologers. This Pisces has to do with the spiritual and subtle realms, the realms of magic and the mystical. And Neptune there has been dissolving boundaries and luring us into these experiences that we could not explain with our ordinary minds. So imagine that the last 14 years where you've been called into your spiritual explorations of the subtle, where you've been developing your meditation or your yoga. And now with Neptune steps into Aries, it says, all right, you were the spiritual explorer in the subtle realms. Now you are going to need to be the spiritual warrior, the advocate on behalf of all this that you have been discovering.
Wow, that's awesome. Because I don't know, but I start to receive message now. The Wi-Fi with the spirit is open. And when you said 14 years, that Neptune was in Pisces, and all this incredible amount of wellness retreat, wellness business, spirituality business, and everything that pop up, it will be also connected with COVID, One moment the people was to be with themselves, and they discover that, okay, I cannot be with myself. How can I manage to be with myself? So that was the discovery of, okay, I want to go to this yoga retreat, I want to take ayahuasca, I want to go to Virikuta. That explosion of wellness business that I like to call it, because of course it's a business, it's an industry. That's awesome. That goes to areas because we need to put in practice all the things that we learn, all the things that we teach, all the practitioners, all the therapists, all the people who gather a lot of information and knowledge. Okay, now you become a warrior with those tools. I love that part of Neptune.
Immensely important. Neptune will give us a taste of this between in these months between the 30th of March and October the 22nd, where it steps back into Pisces for a period of time, giving us an opportunity, perhaps a call to step back and reconsider our somewhat impulsive moves, our efforts to take this out into the world.
Like you mean that's a period of time to take the last retreat? Or to take the
yes, right. Yes, an invitation to go back for more information.
Okay, 30th of March,
and
then in October they step back.
It steps back into
Okay,
Pisces.
so we have 1 year more or less to try.
Well, March to October we have 6 months.
Okay, for me it's like the year. March, October is the year. Okay.
So yes, when we look at 225, we can say, there's going to be a lot of experimentation. Uranus loves experimentation. Pluto is in Aquarius, and Aquarius loves experimentation. So this year is an invitation to experiment. And if enough of us who are born in this extraordinary moment, I found myself in awe considering that there's 8.5 million people on the planet right now that are all going to be going through this experience. And if a significant number of us are willing to explore, to experience, to step forward, to evolve, to try something else and something new, the world will change.
Exactly.
It's really up to us.
When I start to study astrology, I always see like when something happens in the sky, the human being can respond in two ways. Polarized completely.
Yes.
It can be with the flow or against the flow.
Right. We avoid disaster, which is working against or not listening to the stars.
Exactly. So for avoid the disasters, in that case, will be to put in practice what you learn in all these years.
Yes. And take it out into the world. Uranus in Gemini, Uranus will show up in circumstances that are Geminian. And Gemini is in conversation, particularly with conversation with people who might be different than yourself. So to take your wild passion, to go and be a warrior somewhere where you are not expected, brings Uranus into the picture, and there can be an extraordinary expansion of consciousness between two very different parties or consciousnesses. That excites me. I could go on and on about Uranus in Gemini and the total overwhelm of information, the floods of information and the chaos and the not knowing what is truth that is also going to happen at that time. I could talk about Neptune into Aries, saying people just getting on their high horses and shoving their faith down other people's throats. You know, there's ways, and we'll probably all trip over these things here and there.
Yeah.
But if a significant number of us stay curious, get out there, the ripples will help change things. Whatever you and I do here in Tepoztlan will have a ripple effect elsewhere in other places on the planet, and other places on the planet, small things that are happening, small people stepping into their wildest genius. You know, Uranus is the planet of genius. In Gemini, it says the thinking, the capacity for original, creative, out-of-the-box thinking is just going to expand, totally. It's going to be like lightning storms in our brains.
In COVID times, when people were completely worried about their time in the cities, the people ran out, that happened like a big migration from the city to the outskirts, gentrification. That means prices goes up.
Yes.
People living in the small towns are apart because the prices the rents, everything's going up. People arrive from the north who speak English. The people in the town who can speak English, they can work with them. Mm-hmm. They can raise their social economic state, but the people who doesn't know, that is the majority, are displaced. So I want to see that part, because now that is changing all the knowledge that we were collecting in these years. Now we need to put in action. And I feel the key of that is Uranus. Why? We cannot go to the battle alone. We cannot be the only warrior to fight this war. We need to communicate. We need to be coordinated. And we do not need to follow anyone. We need to have to know how to coordinate with another therapist, how to coordinate with another professional, to put those knowledge into action. How do we communicate to get that task done? To be a warrior, but not to be alone.
One is that Neptune always is not in service just to its own self. Neptune is aware of, attentive attentive to part of the collective field always. And it's been amplified in these last years since Neptune stepped into Pisces. And so part of the work of Neptune into Aries is to take up a mission on behalf of something other than yourself. It's not, and the idea, it could weave very well with Uranus into Gemini is, and yes, you might have to take what you know so well into a foreign language or into a foreign culture. For me is that every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 8 o'clock, I walk down to the plaza in Amatlan and I do Qigong with up to 70 or 80 people in the plaza in Amatlan. And I am the only English speaker. So I don't have a clue what is being said, but I'm with local Amatlan people, local Tepoztlan people, locals. The women who make the tortillas in the plaza are practicing Qigong even as they're standing at their stalls. It transcends. For me, I've been studying Qigong in Mexico for the last 12 years, Chinese medicine in Spanish for the last 12 years. And I have had to just depend upon my body and my instinct and my guts. And that's been helpful. And so, I don't know, to me it says these things will happen. There'll be these incredible opportunities to intermix, to take something that you've got and take it out into the streets. Uranus in Gemini says, there's going to be in the streets, in the neighborhoods, in these conversations, in the marketplaces. This is where Uranus is going to be present. The planet of genius will be discovered in conversations, in the discovery that another language than your own may capture genius at times better than you can possibly do it in your native language. So there's a flow because of this triangle, this beautiful triangle, that I say be in awe of that. If there's some way for you to find where Saturn is, you will be making an alignment with this exquisite celestial geometry that contains a lot of hope in it. We say, well, the good, the bad. We have a choice here. Like Uranus in Gemini could just be rampant technology that is utterly confusing and overwhelming and will leave so many of us behind. We could say Neptune in Aries may be these spiritual warriors who are just defending their own faith and territory blindly. It's true. We have a choice. I do believe, and Saturn adds to the picture, because Saturn brings form and structure and commitment and frame. And Saturn steps into Aries with Neptune. At the same time, they step into the 0 degrees of Neptune. It's extraordinary, this spring, that the two of them step in together, because Neptune is so much the mystical, the spiritual, the connection with the divine, the subtle. And Saturn is so much to do with structure and form and commitment. It says we will need spiritual practice to help ourselves deal with the enormity of the shifts and changes. And I think that's why I started really paying attention to the nodes of the moon. The nodes of the moon are shifting, and they are making a great crossing. So that adds to our list of immense shifts. And the nodes of the moon, it's the dragon's head and the dragon's tail. And so if for a moment you could just imagine, maybe if you're listening, just shut your eyes for a moment and just imagine that you are this beautiful dragon and you're the head, you're right around the top of your head, curved into your horns, is this incredible fire where the nodes of the moon have been in Aries. The north node has been in Aries. And what's happening right now is that those dragons that have for the last 19 months been in Aries and putting fires in our heads and giving us a presentiment, a call to action. They've already been inviting us into action. There's been many experiments and experiences already that we're having with being these warriors of the imagination, warriors of the collective consciousness. Imagine this fire in your head. Imagine that this dragon that you are, because this is one of the archetypes, the nodes of the moon, the dragons. When you are lost, you pay attention to the dragons. It's very, very helpful because I tell you, we are all in this incredible recalibration, this complete reset that we're experiencing 225. We're all going to feel immensely confused at times. And the nodes of the moon give us some clues. And what is the moon, the north node of the moon, the dragon's head, doing? But it is shedding its skin, and it is turning its head towards the great oceans, the great oceanic consciousness of Pisces. And we are shifting from the guidance of fire dragons to the guidance of water dragons. And for the next 18 months, dragons will be the water dragons. And they're going to be a balancing factor when everything else turns into fire and air. Pluto in Aquarius, air. Uranus in Gemini, air. Saturn and Neptune in Aries, fire. We're going to need to pay attention to the nodes of the moon and how they direct us. And what are they saying? The north node of the moon is in water. The south node, the balancing factor, is going to be in Virgo. And so what it's been telling me is that we are developing an oceanic consciousness amongst us. This has been talked about for a very long time. It's been developing, but it's spreading much more intensely. And what it's saying is when the north node is in Pisces, it's saying that to find and tap into our purpose, when this faculty within us of our meditative, contemplative dives into the collective sea, that we're going to be very, very closely directed by the divine as we step out as warriors in this fire and air. We're going to need our own spiritual practices. The north node, the dragon's head, is in water. The dragon's tail is in earth, Pisces and Virgo. And what it's saying is to bring spiritual practice into your daily life is going to be even more important than it is. We're up against the line. We're in the line of fire now. And so we're going to each need to bring this spirituality, this sense of this divine connection into our daily rhythms and routines of our days, that we bring the principles into the earth, that we have, and maybe I'm leaping ahead right now. I can feel the dragons heading me off into the future, but let me just give you a taste of what I'm seeing with this, is that the dragons tell us the way forward when things are unsettled and changing so fast. And so what are they saying is take seriously your spiritual practice. Take seriously a devotion to Madre Tierra, to the earth, in your daily practices. Can take seriously the oceans and the waters of the world and the preciousness of them. And then with the south node, and take that into your daily life. Find practices that reflect this spiritual devotion and this connection. The service and devotion to the collective, the suffering souls, the others who are lost, becomes like a tithing 10% of your effort, your energy goes towards suffering, some sense of suffering somewhere in the world. It will guide us forward.
I think also it's quite the same message that we were talking about Neptune, that we collect all the tools of knowledge and now we need to put in action. But on the other hand, we need to put our spiritual practice in a daily life. That had to be our structure, our Virgo, this. And in that sense, I want to mention two things. One is that for the first time in my life, I cannot see myself living without meditation. I need it, as I need to drink water. I believe, and the pearl that we need to show to the world and put in practice is it can be whatever you done, whatever you master it, whatever you feel connected with. Now you have to share it, because I see two possible scenarios. One is with the aster, with the stars, that we share it, the world change, and we win the war. On the other hand, we keep the knowledge to ourselves. And that's remind me something Jesus told about this gift and the people who keep the gift to themselves. And also Buddha also, there's many teachers about how do you keep all the knowledge to yourself. If you are not sharing this 10% that you were saying, like to share it with someone who doesn't know it, who really needs that, that's gonna be a disaster. So on the other hand, on Uranus, that part of the triangle, I believe that the communication is one of the main pillars of this triangle. Because I want to put in the table something that I heard many times in these last days, when people feel like completely suffocate, alone, like with this discourage. Because when I hear them, they still think about themselves alone. They see themselves like, what am I gonna do with these things, because I need to be a professional with these topics, but I want to share it, but I do not have time, and I don't want to get involved in politics, I don't want to get involved in those things because that's gonna put my things in risk, and I don't know what's going on, and everything is collapsing. Because the feeling that everything is collapsing, we're gonna feel it now. The point that I want to touch is, if we do not communicate with others, we're gonna still feel that the battle, this war, is just with ourselves, to the war, against the war, and we're gonna lose. It's not possible. I think this collective change of planets, of the big planets, are inviting us to three things. One is to cultivate and have your roots really, really grounded of your own practice in the daily life. That's your support, that's your salary, that's your energy, that you need to keep it. Second point, share it. You become a warrior with those knowledge that you have. Third, you're not in this war alone. There are so many people that are with you. Everyone has different needs, everyone has different perspectives, but more or less we are in the same direction. That's the main thing. So we just need to talk about details. We need to talk about how to. We don't need to talk about what, we don't need to talk about when, we don't need to talk about why. We already know those things. We just need to put our words in how to do it, how to work together. The key is to not feel alone. We are used to think of ourselves in alone, because it's our profession, it's our career, it's our work, it's our job, it's our home, it's our food, it's our rent. But all these processes that the sky brings to us is for all the humankind. It's not for you only. Those are, I think, the steps that we need to move not in order, at the same time. Do not prioritize your meditation, or do not prioritize share it before or the communication. No, everything has to be on the same level, on the same rhythm, your own rhythm, but the 3 points of the triangle at the same time.
The way you wove together those 3 points of cultivating and grounding your practice, of sharing it and giving it, and of remembering that you're not in the world alone. I feel as though it makes me want to cry. I feel like I was in the presence of this beautiful triangle that we need to feel in awe of, that is in the air. It's all around us. We are part of the cosmos. And there's this exquisite geometry going on that, as you say, do it all. Know that it's a great time for experimentation, because these planets are going to back off and give us a little bit of time to reflect, reconsider how we might do it even better in a world that is very, very different in 2026. Not alone, so important. With Pluto in Aquarius, it says, the power returns to the people, to the common good, and that the power moves and shifts in the community. When you gather, you're not always going to have the answer. But with Pluto in Aquarius, it says, someone will when you don't. So not to be alone, even if your community is not entirely human. That's probably wise. That it's also the place where you live, and the plants that are nearby, and the animals, and and the stars. The community is way bigger than we could ever possibly imagine. So thank you. It was quite a presence to be in the company of.
It's good to do this translation. When I see myself, well, okay, what's the position? What's my gift? I ask myself, okay, what's the knowledge that I was collecting all these years? And it's not about a therapy. It's not about something that like yoga or whatever, even that I did it. There's nothing, I do not have my call to action to do that. In this case, my call to action is how to communicate, how to translate those things. Because I do not like to work in vain, and I don't want to see people work in vain, and I don't want to see people alone. Because it's a feeling, a common feeling. Because one thing that I learned of what's going on in Middle East, the invitation to believe first that we have the power, that's Pluto, to remember. We never lose it, we forgot. That's Pluto. What kind of power do we have right now? We cannot go backwards in the 60s and the 70s when it was like this action, this fire of destroy, because now with media and everything that is completely controlled under algorithms and cameras and whatever, every kind of action that we do against the power, the reaction will be too heavy to us. It's not the strategy right now, and I hope that will be necessary. But the thing that we can do on a way to stop this thing, because if we do just a short extrapolation of the way that the world is working right now, I do not believe that we're going to live more than 30 years more. So if we keep the status quo, we're going to disappear. Or at least the people who cannot afford like a starship to Mars or to the moon or whatever, we're going to disappear. So on the other hand, is to say like, even that I won't see the result, even that I won't see the end of the movie, we do not have anything more to do than put this world better than we arrived. And one way, transmit to the other generations different way to collect knowledge to put in practice. I believe that the stars are telling to us in many ways. We can explain this with Pluto, Uranus, Neptune that we did today. We can explain this with Palestine. We can explain this with many things that are happening right now in Latin America and in the world. But the message is the same. The message is to learn how to coordinate, learn how to communicate, keep it your knowledge, trust in your knowledge, be open, be flexible. So I think the main invitation is to trust, is to remember that we have the power to put in practice what we learn. Do not keep it only for yourself. Share it. Believe that we can change the world. We won't see the results, but there's nothing more important than do that right now. Thank you, Gretchen, for being here.
A good conversation. I think Uranus would be very happy here.
Este episodio fue auspiciado por...
Esto es un borrador vivo, un trabajo en progreso que, así como el amor, va a ir cambiando y tomando forma mientras que lo vaya habitando. Y el futuro me dirá si he elegido el título de un podcast muy largo o redundante. Esto es No hay una forma correcta de amar. Quiero empezar a hablar de esto para invitarte a poner el cuerpo del amor sobre la mesa para poder desarticular todas estas lógicas que tenemos que son silenciosas y revisar las nuevas formas que pueden comprendernos. Este espacio es una invitación a diseccionar en conjunto estas formas de amar. Es invitarte a abrir una habitación amoblada con cosas heredadas que por ahí ni te gustan ni te entran, pero que quizás, ojo, hay cosas que heredamos que son una joyita y que quizás está bueno quedárnoslas. Es una revolución en contra de la jerarquización del amor. El amor de pareja no debería estar por encima de cualquier otro tipo de amor. Es una manera de entender que el deseo de la otra persona no tiene por qué coincidir con el mío todo el tiempo y eso no está mal. Amar libremente es un músculo que se entrena, duele, pero después afloja. Hoy descubro que lo más importante es amar en coherencia a mi yo actual y que esa coherencia se va actualizando día a día, al igual que todas mis necesidades, y que la manera de amar la voy a ir construyendo y destruyendo en base a mi propia evolución. Espero que este espacio sea como una brújula para quienes no quieren a los mapas, y nos encontramos en el próximo episodio para seguir navegando en el amor, porque no hay una forma correcta de amar.